Let's kick things off. A veteran of the Livestream studio, Mr. Bob Naka Sony, the managing director at First Beverage Group. How's it going, Bob?
It's going well today, Marty. How about yourself?
It's going very well. It's a big day for First Beverage. We just concluded the awards. Dinah Trout of Health Aid, Person of the Year, Essentia, Brand of the Year. You guys I think you're onto something here.
Yeah, really excited to have two brands that we've been in for quite a while now that are later cycle in terms of what we do, and to be recognized today like this by you guys is really special. And I know seeing Dinah first thing when she walked in this morning and how excited she was, we're really excited about it. And really she's been at it now for a few years, and continues to evolve as a leader, and continues to really just take on all of the new responsibilities that come with the difference between when she started and now, having over 100 employees, having gone through a few cycles of bettering the manufacturing facility and just all the things that come with a more mature business. She's grown into really nicely, so we're excited and happy you guys were able to recognize that.
Well, it's been really fun to watch the development of the brand, so congratulations again. It was well earned.
Thank you.
So I want to talk a little bit about the most recent deal. We reported on a couple weeks back, Mad Tasty. I mean, this is interesting for numerous reasons. It's a sparkling water infused with hemp extract. The first thing that struck me when this deal was announced is you guys don't typically get involved with brands pre-launch. So what was sort of motivating factor for you guys to sort of, do something that you maybe wouldn't normally do in that sense?
We don't normally get formally involved with brands pre-launch. We generally like to get to know them, pre-launch, and it generally starts as a seed venture relationship, maybe not formally, maybe not with capital, and Mad Tasty was certainly one of those. We tend, I think we've said this before on BevNet, we like to take a category first approach in terms of weeding through what we like and what we don't like. In the case of CBD, I'm not going to crown it a category yet. It's certainly a very promising ingredient. From a consumer needs state standpoint, anxiety, stress, focus are all things that we've, like everyone else, seen really rising in terms of the demand for consumer needs to address those over the years. And CBD seems to be the ingredient that most consumers are gravitating towards. And so we got really comfortable with the category, or with CBD as an ingredient to address those kind of unmet consumer needs out there pretty well. And when we get comfortable with that, then it becomes what other pieces are in place. And in the case of Mad Tasty, we got a lot of really nice pieces in place that got us even more comfortable doing something that early, including the founder himself. And before I talk about Ryan, Interscope Records is a relationship we've had for a number of years now, and we've always wanted to collaborate and do something with them, mixing beverage with entertainment and music. There's obviously a natural fit there, and this happened to be one that they made an introduction to Ryan Tedder, who's the lead singer of Onerepublic, also a very accomplished songwriter, multi-time Grammy Award winner on that front as well. He's also just a very genuinely hardworking, good guy. Seems to have a real practical, base that he works from, having grown up in Oklahoma. And so, given his megaphone, that doesn't hurt either. But really, it was his vision first around Mad Tasty and around CBD that got us excited. So you had a couple other pieces in place in Interscope and Ryan. And a product, and then of course the category viewpoint we had that we really liked that got us more comfortable with this one earlier than a lot of other stuff that we look at, and we like to maybe wait a little bit longer before we formally get involved. We're excited about it.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, maybe a little bit premature to say that there's a CBD category. I mean, you guys are obviously spend a lot of time analyzing this. Do you see the opportunity in CBD and I guess hemp extract the same way that we kind of see it being reported? I mean, we always hear about growth projections. By this year, it's going to be this number. Are you guys as optimistic as some of these other predictors?
I'd say it's hard to be as optimistic as some of the, especially some of the revenue numbers you see out there. And you do see some that are assigned specific to beverage at this point. More so, you just see as an ingredient how big it can become. I'm a little reluctant to crown it a category at this point, and I don't think it's even fair to, right? Probably better You're already seeing it across multiple formats, multiple categories, and so for right now, I would call it a really promising ingredient that we think we can build from, and we think Mad Tasty is a cheeky name, and certainly the graphic design of the can right now we think works pretty hard as well in terms of standing out on shelf. Some of the brighter colors that are used to complement the street art background we think is something that will have the ability to stand out on shelf as well.
Absolutely, and I mean the really interesting thing about CBD is it has a lot of different functionality. There's a lot of different ways to position it. And you mentioned sort of the bright colors, the branding that you guys have gone for. I mean, how do you guys sort of see the marketing voice of Mad Tasty being? And will we see, Ryan and perhaps Interscope sort of leveraging their resources to the table in terms of bringing that to market?
Well, we already are. They're already. I mean, Ryan. It's rare that I see him without a Mad Tasty hat on these days, and so that's been nice. I think a lot of that is TBD, though. At this point, I think we're trying to. At this point, we're obviously, pretty committed to the design of the can, but in terms of the voice, we're still figuring that out. Figuring out the best way to go about that. But right now, it's I would say we're leaving as much kind of optionality there as possible in that we see this as being a big lifestyle play, and so we'll kind of figure out the voice as we go here.
And speaking of the packaging itself, I mean, hemp extract versus CBD has been a sort of a big discussion on sort of what you sort of put on the package, and obviously there's regulatory sort of things to navigate. How did you determine that was the route that you wanted to go to use hemp extract? And is there still consumer confusion over what those two things are and how they're different or alike?
Yeah, I think a ton, and I think obviously we saw the news, the FDA, 15 letters, out to companies, kind of essentially clearing the shelves or clamping down on the sales of their e-commerce direct-to-consumer sites. Our choice there was probably similar to my prior answer in terms of wanting to keep optionality, not commit in too far at this point, and probably try to take hurdles out of the way at this point where we're going to be playing small ball at this point for a little while in terms of distribution and where we're going, and LA and Austin, Texas is kind of where we've decided to try to plant beachheads for the brand. But it'll be up and down the street, right? There really aren't any national retailers, certainly not publicly held ones, that are willing to cross that line yet. But I think we come back to the fact that there's this tremendous consumer demand for the ingredient right now, and the fact that that seems to be snowballing. There seems to be more and more money pouring into it, and the combination, I think of those two things alone are going to bring the science that the FDA is looking for, and get it kind of over the hard line of being GRAS certified, which is I think what the FDA is really looking for at this point.
Now, you mentioned that you guys are going to be looking to launch in Southern California and in Austin, Texas. What are, I guess, why were those markets a good start for you? And what's the kind of demographic are you looking for? Are we looking to give, maybe consumers who are already taking CBD a beverage option, or is this for a brand new consumer who's never sort of interacted with this before? Yeah,
well, I mean, they both happen to be green states, right? California, obviously it's Southern California just because we're here. The formation of the company and the people that we've begun to hire all here as well. Good familiarity. We have a relationship obviously with LAD. From a DSD standpoint, it's got to be DSD. I mean, at this point, there aren't a lot of larger distributors that are sticking their necks out either. We obviously have plans to go a couple markets deeper in 2020 as well. Maybe more than a couple, but we're going to see how the first few go here. And Austin obviously has pretty good awareness given all the players that are there as well for CBD, and so we thought it'd be a good second market to open, which literally opening this week.
Yeah, two great markets, two great cities. We did see several CBD brands in the New Beverage Showdown this morning, and it struck me, it seems like this I guess emerging trend is being driven by a lot of independent brands that are really trying to be disruptive and break out and make a name for themselves. there is always the shadow of the larger strategic sort of maybe waiting to get involved. So just curious to get your thoughts about, do you see this market being driven mainly by independents, or do you see the sort of, the biggers, the Cokes, the Pepsi sort of ready to jump into this and really change things up?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything that happens with the FDA will, to an extent, help dictate the timeline there for strategics to get involved. Given that they just have to be, more legally adverse or risk averse than others. So certainly independents for a while, but there isn't a strategic, I think, that you talk to, across both, strategic, strategy people as well as, M&A and business people as well, these strategics that isn't interested in it. I think they're all watching very closely. But in terms of, what you see in the trade, I think it's going to primarily be independent for at least a couple of years, and we'll see.
So I guess, how optimistic are you that this timetable is going to be moving quickly? Is it are we a couple of years from the FDA sorting this out, or is it?
Yeah, I'd say at least. Listen, there's opinions of people that are far closer to than I am that would tell you much quicker than that. I think we're probably trying to take a little bit more conservative view on that, and I don't know that we need it to accelerate much quicker than that. But obviously, just more from a what are the hurdles to the industry being able to grow on the beverage end of it? We'd love to see it figured out more quickly than less, obviously.
Well, Bob, it's always great talking to you. You guys are always at the forefront of all the cool stuff in beverage, so we really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in the Livestream studio.
Thank you, Marty. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
If you like this video, don't forget to hit subscribe. Ding the bell and you'll know when the next one drops.